Welcome back to Good Day. It's time for Mother Knows Best, and we are missing one of our lovely ladies. We miss Tracy, but she's off doing some other stuff today. But we're glad that you all have joined us. We're talking about allowances, and you know, some do allowances, some don't, and everybody has a different way that they handle that. So we want to hear what your opinions are, how you handle it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, there's nothing. I'm all for allowances. It is very, very hard to stay on that, especially with my children being older. You know, they have they want a salary. They don't want an allowance. So we are not a family that give them an allowance every time their daddy gets paid. Right. But we do give them money based on if they do an accomplishment, if they do really good on their report cards. We also make deals with them. If you do this, then we'll be able to get you that at X amount of time. But on the times that we do give them money, we do set up a structure. They just can't take the money that we give them and go spend it on candy, even though they would like to. But that is something that we do.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm all for teaching children the value of money, how to handle money. We've been through every permutation of allowances, just giving it to them. Right now, we're not doing allowances. You know, I think it depends. I know when we had our two older kids, we always looked for it, like, what's the perfect way to handle it? And I think it depends on the kids. It depends on family's financial situation. Sometimes you can't just, you know, dole money. Depends on how much responsibility, you know, your kids either have or that you'd like to instill in them. So there isn't really a perfect way to handle it. But I don't agree with the idea, though, of having kids feel like they're entitled to, or they have to get paid for work around the house. I mean, that's part of being a family, you know. I don't get paid. My husband doesn't get paid for working around the house, you know. But it could be a tool for teaching them how to handle that money and stuff.
Well, we always did. Everybody would have their set chores that they would do during the week, and as long as you did those, you got a base allowance. If you wanted extra money to go do extra things, you had to go wash the car, and maybe you'd get some extra money for that. But you figure my daughter's going to be 40 next year, so that's a long time ago. But now we have our nephew Charles, who, you know, goes to a day program, and he actually gets $40 a week allowance, which my husband said that's more than he gets. But the way that we do this, because sometimes he doesn't want to get up and go to the day program, so we've tied, you know, if you get up, and that's your job, is to go to your day program. As long as you go, you get your allowance. And knock on wood, he hasn't missed a day.
Hey, now, I bet.
Yeah.
It's a good incentive. Whenever you do give them money, or kind of, I guess, however which way you do it, how do you kind of teach them the value of saving money or learning how to budget and do finances? And do you incorporate that in?
Yes. Adolco has a savings program. So they each have their own little roster books that they go in and they put their information in. They have to set out the money for their tithes, and then they set out money that they want to put in their savings account, and then what they want to spend on, you know, whatever little frivolous thing that they want to buy. So we do incorporate that. I mean, it's important to, because they'll never learn the importance of saving and being responsible and buying things that they need and not always being so frivolous in their actions. So that is we have to do that in our household.
Yeah, we always divide into savings, tithing, saving, and spending. And a lot of times, you know, especially at younger ages, we tie the saving into what are you saving for? You know, sometimes my kids, I have a very generous child who saves his money for presents for other people.
Oh my
goodness. I think that's really sweet. That's very sweet. But sometimes it's like, you know, a DS or a book they want or something like that. But they always have a goal, you know, that they're working towards.
That's good.
Well, I think the other thing, Charles, we got him a cat, and then he wanted for his cat to have a cat to keep it company when he was at school, so it wouldn't be lonely. So, and as you all know, I already have quite a few animals, so we made the agreement that if you're going to have these two cats, they're your cats, you are going to, out of your allowance, pay for vet visits. You're going to buy their cat food. You're going to buy their cat litter. You're going to be responsible for that. It's coming out of your allowance, and I think that's important too, to teach them responsibility for things that they're going to have to do. Later.
We're going to be back in a moment talking more about allowances. Stay with us. Welcome back to Good Day and Mother Knows Best. We're talking about allowances and something that kind of ties into that, jobs. Some parents think at a certain age the child has to get a job Or some parents think, I don't want my child to have a job until they're out in college. How do you handle that?
I think that we're being awful quiet this morning.
I got a lot
Usually
to say,
it's like
sometimes
everybody go.
respectful. Yeah.
I think that a lot of it depends on the family's budget, and right now everybody is really having hard times, and children still want things, and the things that children want now cost more than ever. And so I think if the child can maintain their grades and their extracurricular things with a small part-time job, I think it's a great idea. I think learning that responsibility of getting up and going to work, and learning, that Uncle Sam gets a third of your paycheck. And I never forget when my granddaughter got her first check, and she's, who is this FICA, and why are they giving my money, So I think it's a great idea if that balance can be achieved.
Yeah, I mean, I think by the time they're going away to college, there's such a sense of entitlement, that I just should be getting this money because I always have. But I mean, I've read studies that show that children, of course, we're not talking young children, employable age, do better with it in school, academically too, with a job, because they learn time management skills. You have to learn where you're going to sneak in, or put in that research for the paper that's due, even though you have to work tomorrow, kind of thing. And I can't wait for my kids to be able to get a job.
And I just had to break down the other day, because Brianna just put in a job application this week at Chick-fil-A. And for me, I was on the fence about it because I've been working since I was 13. My first job, y'all, was grading cucumbers on a farm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, so I've been working, and I mean, I love to work, and I like to stay busy, but even when I got in college, I had 3 jobs while going to college, and it was tiring, and I didn't want that added on to her, but she's been so adamant about it because she wants that responsibility.
But there's balance, too.
Exactly. That's what me and her dad sat down and we talked about it. We were like, okay, you're going to put in this X amount of hours, and it cannot affect your grades.
Sure.
You're good.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, the flip side of that is Kayla's been working since she's 16, and she's 22 now, and she says, I wish I wouldn't have started so early. I wish I would have just kind of done like you said, Grandma, and relaxed and enjoyed those years a little bit more instead of working. Because now she's in college full-time, and she works full-time, and she's type A and very, that's her personality, but she's always going.
She might not have relaxed too much if she's a type A.
That's true.
Well, but and I understand that completely, because I have to always be doing something. I've always worked. I've always had responsibilities, and I want my kids to be able to enjoy high school. And there were certain things that I couldn't do because I had to work at the Piggly Wiggly when I was in, So I want.
But
we
see,
had to kind of,
you might have had different. You obviously had different circumstances than they do.
Yeah.
And they'll be able to learn balance. That you might not have been able to because of your situation.
Yes. And I've worked everywhere, y'all. I can do everything.
What are some specific ways that when they, however the child is getting money, if they have an allowance or not, what are some specific ways that you kind of teach them about investing or, finances and those types of things? Some tips for parents that are watching.
I had them to create a budget sheet. They have to write down what it is that they want. If TJ wants a new game, okay, how much is it going to be, and how much are you going to put aside until you can get there? So I'm all about writing it down. Write it down, present it to me and your daddy, and let's see what we can do.
Well, and we involve our older kids with our family budget. I mean, it's amazing the things they don't even think of that cost.
Yep.
And when you say, okay, this is how much Dad brings home, and these are all our expenses, and see this little tiny number on the bottom, they're just blown away by it because they look at the paycheck and think, wow, we're rich. But then when you look at all the expenses, and they have no clue. I think like at a certain age, kids sometimes are. You don't want to do this to a really young child, but especially at teenage years when they start having things they want and they think, well, why can't you buy this for me? Show them all the expenses that it costs to run a household. So.
Those are some good thoughts. When we come back in just a little bit, we're going to be talking about a very interesting story we talked about earlier this week on Good Day about a young girl who broke her arm at school and how the school handled it and how the mom was upset about it, and we're going to get our mom's opinions. So stick around. We're going to be right back. Welcome back to Good Day and Mother Knows Best. We're talking about a story that we talked about earlier on Good Day. I'll fill you in here. There was a young girl at elementary school. She fell off the monkey bars at school, broke her arm, and according to Sasha actually saw the picture of this, and she said it was a really bad break. It almost looked like, I mean, a U-shaped. She saw the pictures of it. It was evidently a very bad break. The school didn't have any ice, so they used ice cream sandwiches on the girl's arm to keep it cold. Started going through the emergency contact list. They couldn't reach the people, so they just kept going through it. Finally able to contact her aunt, and then the aunt came to school and picked her up. The mom was just outraged about the ice cream sandwiches and the fact that they didn't just call 911 or take her to the hospital because it was such a bad break. So we want to know what your thoughts are. We actually put this on our Facebook page, WFXL TV, and I have some of the comments here, viewers commenting on the page about their thoughts, but let's get your thoughts.
I just want to jump right in real quick, because one of my pet peeves is it seems like people change their cell phone number as often as they change underwear anymore.
Yes.
And so if you change your cell phone number, if you don't let anybody else know, make sure you let your child's school know, because people do, I'll go to call somebody and their number is not good anymore. So I just needed to get that out there. I think that's important because, that's probably why they couldn't, it would be a good chance, that's why they weren't able to reach her.
Yeah.
Well, and what was unclear to me in that story was what is the actual policy that clearly the school has to have a policy for that. And even if it were my kid, I can understand, I would be upset, but I don't think it's a 911 worthy call. And there's got to be procedures for that. Now, I don't understand why the school didn't have ice or at least those cold packs or something. But the story also didn't cover the school's, viewpoint, what happened. So I don't know. That was
shady.
It just was incomplete. It's hard to get your head around that because you don't have all the details.
Yeah, I had problems with that story on so many levels. I don't even know where to begin because I don't know too many schools that does not have ice. You have a cafeteria, you have food that you have to keep frozen. It makes sense to me.
Or first aid kit.
Or first aid kit, exactly. Because even with my children's school policy, they have you to list down yourself, the second point of contact, and then you sign an agreement saying that if you can't reach one of us, then they have to make that decision.
That mother should have known what is the school's policy.
Exactly. Mother should have known, but I'm like this, and it's been too many cases with children getting hurt at school and athletes losing their lives. We've got two type of people. We've got people that say it's not that bad, and then some that have a better safe than sorry. And even with some of the comments that I read, I'm not a fan of anyone that would just have a nonchalant attitude about anybody's child getting hurt. And then you have to look at, you're talking to a person who, you all know my sister passed away. She went to the doctor on Wednesday. They said it was vertigo, and then she had passed away by that Saturday. So when a person gets hurt, you have to take all precautions necessary. You didn't know if the little girl had a concussion or what else was going on. If they can't take it to the emergency room, there's a convenient care, something that's going on there to, make sure. But even with the mom, I'm with you, Janet, make sure that you're always reachable. My cell phone has a mind of its own. So if it dies on me, I have my house phone, I have my iPad, I have something around me that you can reach me. But the policy with the school, no. They weren't prepared to take care of the child in the event that the parent was around, so I do have a problem with that.
Some of our Facebook viewers, one of them said, kudos for them for improvising on what they had available, and that he's actually an EMS person and said that he wishes that people would think like this on their own, trying to come up with, okay, we don't have this, what's plan B? What do you think about what he had to say?
I would expect for you all to have ice cream sandwiches here if I fell and broke my arm. At the school, when you have children and you know that children are prone to hurt themselves, my expectation is that you're going to have your first aid kit, you're going to have your policy, you're going to have your school nurse, you're going to have somebody trained to be able to help that child. I'm not
If you have ice cream sandwiches, they're in a freezer. Why don't you have ice cubes?
Yes.
Thank
hello.
you.
At the very
That does seem really odd.
So, I don't know.
Some other of the viewers that commented said that the school did the right thing. If they had called 911, the mom would have fussed, saying that they should have called the family member first. So one of the viewers were saying they were kind of in a no-win situation.
Well, that's possible because if they called 911 and the child's taken to the hospital, mom's going to wind up with a hospital bill, and she may not be happy with that. So I think sometimes you are in a a no-win
It's a
situation.
catch-22.
Well, I mean, but you can take a child to the hospital and you don't have to call 911 too. You know,
Right.
I mean, there's a whole gradient there of reactions. You know.
We're going to be back with more reaction from the moms on this story. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I love that too.
Welcome back to Good Day and Mother Knows Best. We've had a side conversation during the break. What are some of the things that y'all were talking about that viewers didn't get to hear?
Can I say some of that stuff on
Yeah,
TV?
no, well, as long as there weren't any choice words.
Oh, no, I can't. My mama got that out of me when I was 6. I won't say that anymore. But they were talking back and forth. They were being, they were, talking about the school and how they did try to improvise. My thing is, as a teacher, you have to know where everything is, in order to be able to handle emergency situations. The fact that the teachers still had to improvise, in my mind, lets me know that they knew that everything wasn't in place, or they didn't know where everything was. I need to know that the teachers are prepared just in case something happens to my child or anybody else's child. I am tired of seeing all of these sad stories on the news about children getting hurt or losing their lives at these schools. No more excuses. To whom much is given, much is required. Know your stuff, have your stuff in line, and take care of the children like you're supposed to.
And hopefully they will take this and learn from this and put a program in place.
Yep.
Things have changed. I remember when Kayla was 5 or 6, a little boy threw a big piece of mulch and hit her right in the head with it at school. And they called Nicole for that, and that wasn't even really that serious, but because it was the head. And she'd have a big red knot there. And then she beat the little boy up.
But
anyway,
but I
that's
think,
another issue.
Yeah, that's another whole issue. So I think that, okay, this has happened now, so let's make sure this doesn't ever happen again.
What do you think about monkey bars and playgrounds and things like that? Some of the viewers were saying, why do they even still have these dangerous equipment? I mean, that's traditional. Monkey bars to me is a tradition.
I could never get past a monkey bar,
What are you
but
gonna do? Bubble wrap your kid and keep it in the closet,
Yeah.
Kids
That's
are kids.
crazy. Yes.
that's
please.
just a cop-out.
And kids
Yeah.
are going to get hurt, and I mean, they need to. I mean, what about raising namby-pamby kids who aren't afraid of it?
Yeah.
You gotta have fun and be a kid.
That's right.
Just-
And part of it's going to be
good.
getting broken arms and getting hurt and knots in your head and everything.
It happens.
And then, but we need to, as the adults, we need to know how to deal with it. So it's not take all the fun away from the kids.
Exactly.
Like,
Thank you all for your thoughts this morning. You can go to mysouthwestga.com/mothernowsbest for more information. If you have any topic ideas, email us at mothers@WFXL.com. Thanks for joining us, ladies. Great thoughts as always. We'll be back in the morning at 5 a.m. Have a